Hello, everyone. How's it going? Hope you're doing well today. Thanks for joining me on it's 84 degrees in New York today. Not too bad. It's been pretty brutal, but I hope you're all doing well. Thank you for coming around. So a few things. You can get the backing track for free right now. That one, well, not that one. One I'm going to play over in a minute. And also, got some fun stuff. I put out my Fractal FM3 patches, so if you're a Fractal user, you can get those using the link in the description there. That BB, who's so nice to be here as well, put that in. And yeah, cool. Those are free. They're on me if you're a Fractal user. Spent a lot of time with them. They've got the Dynacabs. I'm really digging those now, and they're a ton of fun. So, all right. So today, the inner circle. Yes, that's if you want to take, if you want to work with me on a group sort of way. We meet twice a month on a Zoom call. I give a short lesson, or actually pretty reasonable length lesson. Kind of take questions on that, open up for general counseling. You guys can play if you want. You can assess your playing, just talk about anything you want, gear, all this. But it basically comes down to really fun hang twice a month. And you get absolutely everything in the jam guitar lessons included with that. You get all the previous master classes, you get a seat in all the the new master classes, and you get all the courses as well. So the link over there on the side if you want that. And yeah, so let's talk a little bit. Let's talk some smack about some stuff, and then we can talk about this thing. All right, so this is all in fun. People are going to get all crazy, but usually this is fun anyway. All right, so the first hot take that people always bring up, and these are kind of fun, and I find that a lot of times, hold on, let me just put do not disturb. I'm getting texts. I forgot to put the do not disturb up. All right. Number one, tonewoods do not make a difference in electric guitars. And I'd love to get your input on the chat here and have some of the ones that you have. I know we can talk about that. I know there's a video that floated around where a guy took a pickup and did this, and puts two pieces of wood and he had no sonic difference. Well, my experience is sort of different. I think I'm a really strong believer, as are many of my friends, whose opinion I highly trust, that the wood makes a huge difference in a guitar. Now, does it make as big a difference in a guitar as it does in, say, an acoustic guitar? No, because you have pickups. But my own most shocking experience was with my custom Tuttle right here. Before I went on the road, Michael put on a neck, and I decided it was just a little thinner than I had wanted, so we went for a bit of a thicker neck. There was something about the guitar with the thinner neck. It sounded good, but I found I was sort of tweaking my amp settings from usual, and it was a little less mids. And I just kind of noticed in the guitar, it still sounded great, but I was like, this is interesting. So after the tour, I sent the guitar back to Michael because he made a neck all his way. We put on a neck that's on the guitar now that I love. And then the guitar sounded completely different. I mean, what's completely? To my ears, it was noticeably different. I took it out of the bag, didn't even plug it in, strummed it, and I was like, whoa, all these mids were there with a slightly thicker neck. So is it the tone wood, or is it the thickness of the neck, or there's a whole bunch of things? But it 100% made a difference. Like it suddenly doesn't sound like a Les Paul, you know what I mean? But within the realm of what a Stratocaster can sound like, it was different. And even Michael noticed that too. He goes, yeah, I noticed it has a lot more mid. So was it the thickness of the neck? I think that has a lot to do with it. Was it just a different piece of wood? So people get a little crazy. He said he tapped on the wood and just has a different resonant frequency. And I think you can definitely do that. And those are some of the things that we did when we put these things together at PRS. I'll talk about this in a little bit. And you just kind of tap on the wood. It's really fascinating to hear different pitches coming from the guitar wood. So I think I notice a difference. There's things definitely that you can totally tell is if the guitar is not very resonant when you strum it and it's kind of dead. When you plug it in, you get those same characteristics. So this has been my experience. I know a lot of people fight it, and then Paul Reed Smith gets a lot of tone woods, and people get all crazy, and then people will say like, well, Jack Pearson, who's an amazing guitar player, plays a Squire. Okay, so you got a good Squire. He likes that Squire. Maybe it doesn't have to be expensive to be good sounding, but the wood does really make a big difference. There's absolutely no question. Violinists and everybody throughout time has known this, and guitars will sound different with different kind of tops on them. So less so dramatically with electric guitars, but I think it's absolutely a difference. I'm definitely going to hear what you guys have to think about that, you know. Now, one thing I do want to bring up, and which is really kind of true, you usually have to have sort of a better amplifier to hear some of these things. If you're playing through, like, you know, not a great solid state amp, sometimes you're not going to hear those subtleties. That's for sure. Absolutely. So if you've got like a decent tube amp, I even notice it through my fractal stuff. I mean, I can hear a difference because I've spent time dilating in, but that's a big thing. If you have something, a good sounding setup, that's when you really start to hear the difference. If you're playing through, like I said, an inexpensive amplifier, you're not really going to hear those differences. Just like I can, when I plug in a new old stock tube into an amp, I can hear that difference sometimes. Yeah. Am I going to hear it on a gig when a drummer is playing with cymbals? Probably not. But, you know, so that's definitely one I think is absolutely true. So what do you guys think? I just, like I said, like my personal experience, I have found it to be true. Got over here. I'll go through a few more before I start getting things. It does make a difference, but not as much as pickups, but it definitely makes a difference. Absolutely. Pickups will make a really big difference as well. The first thing, though, one thing that I think I heard like Bonamassa say this, and it's, you know, you got to like the guitar. Like if you have a guitar that you don't really love, you don't think it sounds good acoustically and all, sometimes pickups will not, changing the pickups may not fix that. Probably won't. Like I wouldn't buy a guitar and go, yeah, that doesn't sound great, but if I change the pickups, it'll sound better. What I look for is the guitar that sounds really good, even acoustically, or I can get a vibe from it, and then I will consider changing the pickups. But I'll live with the pickups first, because first thing you want to do sometimes is like, I got to change these pickups. You might not need to. And then there is the thing that we try to sometimes make all the guitars sound the same. Like, do I want two Les Pauls to sound exactly the same? No, not really. And that's the beautiful thing about them, that they don't have to sound the same. Yeah, I have two firsthand. I firsthand have heard that two identical guitars with maple fretboard and rosewood fretboard, alder and swamp ash body. Yeah, I mean, I think they sound different. Is like my Strat with the ash body and the maple neck sounds more 50s-ish, a little more scooped, a little less mids, like my 60s Strat. I find that different. Okay, here's the one. I think we touched on this one. And this is the one that gets everybody kind of crazy, which is funny. And it all makes a difference. But you have to start to think about, you know, you want to think about those things. Like, are you at the point where they make a difference? The first thing is your playing is the biggest key factor in all of them. Right. Oh, okay, Lyle's saying, I dislike the term tonewood as a snobbish connotation, but the wood absolutely matters. Doesn't mean it has to be expensive and people will sound better. Absolutely. That's a great way of putting it. Right. So I was saying guitar, if you're going to get a great sounding Squire, yeah. But you can have one Strat come off the line right after the next one, and one's going to sound great and one might not sound really nearly as good, because wood is organic, and sometimes it's just the way the wood formed. Some are going to be more resonant than others. All right. Relic guitars are stupid. They're stolen valor. Now, I've talked about this on a feed, and people get really incensed over this. My feeling, and I'd love to get your feeling on these relics. I love them. Not so much because they look old, right? I mean, I like them looking a little more, like not brand spanking new, especially Strat kind of stuff. But what I like about them, I've generally found through things like the custom shop or something, is I really like the way they feel. And I have vintage guitars, so I don't have any kind of, I've added a lot of mileage on my old Strat. It's a lot more beaten up when I first got it. That to me was the first vintage guitar I owned. And, you know, like I said, it started wearing through the finish really fast. And I just find that a lot of the relics oftentimes have a thinner finish, or there's no finish on the back of the neck. And I really like that, especially playing a Strat. I have found I just kind of attach a bit more to some of those guitars just because they feel like the guitars I am most comfortable playing, which would be like either my old Strat or something like Michael and I did, where you took the finish off the back, very thin nitro finish, all those things. So I don't think it's stolen valor. Now, admittedly, like if you see a really beaten up Suhr guitar, I don't mean anything against Suhr guitars, that's a bit funny because it, for me, this is that even though it's not real, you can make a guitar feel relict, but without beating the crap out of it. And it's more about the neck and how thin the finish is for me. So when I see a Suhr or like a Tuttle that's super aged, it doesn't appeal to me because it should say Fender on it at that point. And also I don't like the ones that are totally ridiculously worn in. I mean, they're cool, but I just, like I said, I really like how they can feel when I'm playing. And then I did that video and people were like, oh, stolen valor, they're so stupid. I'm like, well, I have guitars that are beaten up from being played. And I just I like the way the relics feel. So what do you guys think about relics? You're never free until a guitar is scratched. That's true. Yeah, the thing about the relics, you don't have to worry about them as much. Yeah, the extreme relic, I think, is kind of silly. Right. I agree with you on that. Like my friend who made me my Strat. Hold on. This one, that was a little more than I kind of wanted. I mean, it looks cool, but I'd rather have done it myself because it's such thin stuff. You know what I mean? But I would prefer it a little less. But the body was exactly fine. Like a little, just like that's fine. Looks like I played it for a few years. Anyway. And like I said about the thin finish of my Tuttle, this is just, it's like a year old. I took it on the road. It's got a bunch of worn out spots and dings and things already, and it adds a little character. So it's that thinner finish that the relics lean towards if they're done properly that I really like. All right. Right, that's that old karate black belt tied to the black Fender argument. That's pretty funny, right? The only thing... tone plywood. Hey, aren't 335s? They're not solid tops, right? If I'm right. So, look, the guitar can sound good. If you get a good sounding guitar, they sound great. The best thing about a relic is the way it feels. Oh my goodness, when it's done right, it's worlds more comfortable to play. That's exactly how I feel about it too. You pick them up and you're like, oh, this feels great, Guitar breaks. Loving the resonance of a guitar unplugged is the first test, right? If it rings in the way to your ears, that's the magic. Absolutely. And I will be at Guitar Breaks. I just filed for my visa for the UK to work there. So in September, with me and Daniel Steinhardt, we're going to, Dan from that pedal show, Dan's going to be doing a day with me. That'll be a ton of fun. I had a great time the last time, so I'm really looking forward to that. Seeing my friends over there and going to England, which is never a bad thing to do. All right. Hold on. Yeah, like S.E. Nesbitt, agree on the relic jobs except for Jason Isbell-Telly, which barely, slightly relic, something that's kind of little, as Matt Schofield put it best, just helping it on its way, which I really like. That's pretty cool too. Yeah, it's up to the person, of course. All this is up to the person. That's the thing. Who cares? That's really ultimately, who cares, but it's fun to talk about. But yes, Gary Mosley, the one thing is my favorite. I generally cannot believe how enraged people get about it. If you don't like it, don't effing buy it. That's the way I feel about it. Can you play? Are you enjoying it? It's a guitar. Who cares? Shameless suck-up comment. I love the light relic job on my Jeff McElraine signature Tuttles. Thank you so much for that, Randy. Checking is beautiful, feels great and nice, and light is a bonus. Yeah, and somebody commented on light guitars. I like light guitars. Okay. I like to feel the relics more than the look. I like kind of both a little bit. All right. Laminate. Thank you. Instrument grade laminate. Thanks. That was the word I could not remember. Thanks. All right. Next one. Boutique pedals are a scam. Now, this is kind of interesting as a guy who plays boutique pedals because of same thing. I find them when you have enough. It's all, as BB said, it's all kind of part of the chain, right? So the boutique pedal to me only really sounds good and feels good if you're playing through a good chain of stuff. If you have a nice amp, then your boutique pedal, you're going to hear a difference. If you're down a budget, there's so many great things. There's still like the Boss Blues Driver, those sound really good. So I don't think all of them are a scam. I think sometimes the prices get a little nuts. And I'm not even talking about the Klon thing or anything like that. That gets crazy. But obviously prices are going to all go up for, the obvious thing we're not going to talk about. And but for me, I love the Vemram pedals. I when I brought them, it sounds like a second up to Vemram, but I remember I brought them over to 30th Street Guitars, and they were kind of dubious. And then they played them for a while. I goes, they actually, I hate to admit it, they do sound more expensive. So Lyle may be able to chime in on some of this. Now, I think if it's just made right, I think certain things like old electroharmonics pedals, there is things issues with the buffers and stuff. So a lot of I think the boutique companies have sorted through some of those things. So I would say not all of them are a scam, but some of them can be, a little bit. A little bit much, especially the prices that they come in at. But it's your manufacturing costs, I guess that's the thing. All right. Yeah, the BD2 with the Keeley mod is a great pedal. Yeah, absolutely. I own and play boutique pedals. I also think they're a bit of a scam. They're kind of fun, right? You know what I mean? But yeah, I like them. I like them for sure, though. I have plenty of them. Definitely ones I hear a difference. I like a more expensive Univibe. They always just sound better. It's just to build those, they just sound better than the less expensive Univibes. They just do, because you got the photo cell in there and all that. So some of them, but in terms of overdrives, there's lots of really good affordable ones, and the prices definitely come down for sure. All right. Tube amps are dead. I love that one. That whole thing was kind of messing around for on the internet. Tube amps are dead. Well, no, they aren't. And it depends on what you're doing. Like, I don't know. I mean, anybody whose gigs I go to see, they are playing a tube amp. And I think that this is just dependent upon what your budget is and what kind of music you're playing and how you're touring. To me, as much as I love, and I just did my Fractal FM9, and I play through it all the time, and I do most of my courses with it, and I got it plugged in now, it's amazing. Does it beat plugging into an amp? No, but it's a different tool. So this tube amps are dead thing. Are 100-watt tube amps dead? For most intents and purposes, I would say they kind of are. Like, this thing doesn't leave the house ever. It's just too big, too loud, and too heavy. So I don't end up using it that much because I can't do anything with it. Then I'm going to bring an attenuator, and then you got all these, I got the power station, all these things like that. For me, that is not something that I need to do. I got my little T-Rock, which sounds great, covers all the gigs I need, sounds amazing. I've got the other ones if I have to do a bigger gig, like if I'm playing with Matt Schofield, I'll bring a little more wattage because he kind of likes to play a little loud if you're watching Matt from Heathrow Airport. All right. Tube amps are alive and well. I'm with you, man. Absolutely. Hear me out. Boss SD1 sounds amazing. I love the SD1. Yeah, it's great. That's the thing. If you play them back and forth next to each other. Now, here's the thing. Here's the real truth. Comparing A-Bing things is the death of joy sometimes. You're like, man, I really love this guitar. And then your friend brings over his guitar and you play that. And you're like, I hate my guitar now. But you don't think about those things oftentimes. A-Bing pedals is often like that. Yeah, I really like this. Sounds great. Then you plug in another one. Then you're back and forth between all of them. And that happens all the time. I've kind of stopped. I don't have any more overdrives. I mean, I got a ton. But what I'm saying is I don't need any more. I love what I got, the Vemram stuff. I got the KTR, which you really like, and I'm just completely happy with it. I don't even want to hear anything else because I don't want to even think about it, because every time what I start to do, and this is part of this hot take on, eventually I make them all kind of sound the same anyway, right? I'll try to dial them in for this sort of imaginary perfect sound that I have in my head. Some are going to be more scooped than others, like tube screamers I don't always love. I need them in combination with something else as they're meant to be played. But I end up taking, a king tone pedal, which are really great sounding pedals, or a Vemram, I just try to make them sound like each other, which is kind of a funny thing. Seems kind of stupid, but I think we have the sound in our head, and it doesn't need to come from a boutique pedal. Yes, tube amps are dead and valueless. I will take them off your hands for cheap because nobody wants them. Exactly. Less controversial. S.E. Nesbitt for the score. Less controversial. Tube amps are really heavy, and that is completely true. Yeah, I've gotten lazier and lazier when it comes to that. When you're younger, we didn't have as many options, really. All the kind of amps when I was a kid were pretty heavy, But I'm always going to bring a lighter amp. I find for my playing, I need 30 watts. Like sometimes 20 can be a bit weird depending on the gig and then how hard the drummer's hitting. So I like making sure I have 30, 40 watts just to have the clean headroom, depending on the gig. That's super important to me. So got some chiming in. Forgive me if I missed some of your comments. I'll go back, but this is going pretty quickly. Tube amps sound and feel better. I got to say, as much I do love the fractal. I find it the new ones. Ultimately, yes, tube amps. I prefer tube amps. I'm not defending. They've gotten really good lately. Like I was one of my friends, my friend Devin, who had PRSs a while ago. Now I got a bunch of PRSs and fractal, and I was like, ugh. And after I kind of got into them, and the fractal stuff's moved a long way, and you hear them more than you think you do. But I'm with you. I'm always going to gig with an amp whenever possible. But they do feel a lot better than they used to. I have to say that. Like, 5, 6 years, even longer than that, they just never quite felt good. But nothing beats the sound of the circuit made of an amplifier at volume, whatever that volume is, like where it's doing its thing, with you sitting in front of it or in a room with it playing with a band. That circuit that's created is very difficult to do and impossible to do, actually, if you're playing with in-ears with a direct solution like a fractal, which are great when you need them. Not, you know what I'm saying? Like everything comes down to the right tool for the gig. But tube amps are not dead. Okay, so the next one I've got up here, vintage guitars are not worth the money. Now, this comes down to your tax bracket. If you have the money, or is a vintage guitar worth it? I would never say to buy a vintage guitar for an investment piece. I wouldn't say to do that, even though they've gone up pretty regularly. But I wouldn't, the vintage instruments I am fortunate enough to own, I bought because they were great guitars. They have gone up significantly in price, so I am no longer, I could not afford any of them now. But, and I'll quote my friend Matt Schofield once again, is not all vintage guitars are great, but the best guitars that I have played happen to have been vintage. And I'm with you and him on that. There is that whole, goes back to the wood thing again, the old growth wood. It's been dry for 60 years probably, So there is a sonic difference. A great vintage guitar always kind of beats the new guitar. It just does. That's been my experience. Now, that being said, it's the comparison thing again. You just said it earlier, like, comparison kills joy. It was basically that, it totally does. So, if I'm going to compare my new Tuttle, which sounds amazing, compared to my 64 Strat, there's somewhat of a difference. I'd hope there'd be a difference. But what's the percentile difference that I can bring this wherever I want and not have to worry about any kind of vintage guitar stuff? And, the more I get that, sometimes I'm like, I still sound like me pretty much in everything. And the vintage guitars, they have not problems, but, you're carrying around something that they are insured, but if they got stolen or messed with, it would suck. Ian Curtis, right? Comparison leads to suffering. So, right, exactly. So what defines vintage? 80s? Well, I'm still thinking like 60s stuff. In my mind, that's what 60s, Travis Niles, a hot take. Modern reissues on average are better than vintage guitars on average. I'm not going to disagree with you on that. I have had the opportunity to play lots of vintage instruments, lots and lots and lots. And I would say the vast majority of them are ones that I would not buy. Kind of almost at any, but yeah, I wouldn't buy them. Like, I've played 54 tellies and been like, this thing is really heavy and it doesn't really sound that good. It's just sometimes it becomes like a dick swinging contest, right? So, I've played some Charvels that sound great, I mean, I wish I still had my old pointy headstock Charvel from the 80s. I just kind of think I would have fun. Okay, counterpoint. This is great. This is fun. Thanks, SE. Counterpoint. Affordable guitars are better now than ever. Technology has raised all boats. That is a 100% true statement. An inexpensive guitar when I was younger was usually terrible. Like a Hondo 2, remember those? And Area Pro 2 or the Fender Bullets, like the really inexpensive guitars. And it was crazy. I mean, all right, Lyle's talking. The SC line, I'm going to do a little PRS love, and I'm going to talk about this guitar in a minute. The SC line that PRS put out is absolutely insanely good. And I'm not being fanboyish. I mean, I guess I'm an endorser of PRS. I like those guys a lot. They've been really great to me. I play their guitars proudly, along with my Gibsons, my Fenders, and my Tuttles. They are just another tool that's fit a thing that I like to do, and they work for certain things. If I want something that sounds like a Les Paul, I'm going to play my Les Paul. If I want it, you know what I mean? So, but the SC line is nuts. Especially to me, the DGT is great. I'm going to give a shout out to my friends over at Watchtower Guitars. If you give them a shout out, they have a few of those Burl SCs, like those Burl DGT SCs. Those are really cool, and one is like 7 pounds or under 7 pounds. I played it shockingly good. So, as Lyle was saying, the new guitars are better. Cheap guitars when we were younger were terrible. They were just terrible. So you always wanted to fit. And also, like, some of the Fenders when I was younger were pretty terrible too. All right, my favorite guitar now is cheaper than a Squier and has crazy specs and sounds amazing. Yeah, you can find so much stuff now. You know what I mean? Like, out there. And if you try enough guitars, you'll find one that jumps out. I had, a while ago, like one of the Roadhouse Tellies or whatever, I forget what it was called. The Baja Telecaster from Fender. I found a great one. I think I told the story. It ended up having some holes in it that developed. It had beetles in the guitar. It turns out Fender was having an issue. So they took the guitar back. And then they sent me a replacement. And it weighed like 8.5 pounds or 9 pounds. And it was terrible. So I sold it. I had this great telly that was killer. And so yeah, that doesn't, it's just the wood is the one you get. So definitely before you buy a guitar, try a few of them. And I think you're going to really find a difference. Oh, thanks for the Watchtower link there, Vivi. Appreciate it. Okay. So a recent video of Paul Reed Smith comparing a Silver Sky to vintage Strats. Yeah, sure. Okay. Let's do some more. Let's talk about PRS. PRS guitars are soulless. Okay. I used to not love them because we talked about this where they would be in New York when they were just coming out, especially with the guys my age of 57. And, they would come out and it's Les Paul, Fender or Gibson, and then if you played on, I couldn't go to a blues gig with something like a PRS. Then I started, the company has been really cool to me and I reached out and I started playing them. And, man, I really love them. I play my PRSs way more than I play my Gibsons. I haven't really touched them. So for me, they just kind of align with my playing, and I like the physical way of playing them and where like things are located. That's but you said you hate the neck feel. Which one? So there's all different ones. There's different necks. So not to be the PRS fanboy, but what we did, this is really fun. My friends over at Watchtower Guitars and they asked me if I would help spec out some private stocks. So this is, we did this about 1.5 years ago. I'll do a video on it where we went down to PRS and chose out all the woods. And for some of us who are not always crazy about the birds, want something a little more subtle, we did, it was Wassel, who's one of the guys there, he came up with this idea of these diamond fret markers, and it's killer. So we wanted to make it a little more subtle for the Les Paul guys. So this one's like 7 pounds, 11 ounces. And it sounds great. I'll play for you in a little bit, but if you want to check out over at Watchtower, they've got a bunch of them. Well, there's 10 in total. There's 5. Well, there's 4 of these left, or 3 left of these. And then there's the semi-hollows. We did those as well. And, all right, I mean, I'm usually not like a crazy wood guy, but this one, I don't know. I like flame tops on bursts, and then like a little more vintagey vibe over here. We kept this nice and simple. We got a real binding, you know. So I think we wanted to make the guitar for the guys who love Gibsons, but wanted some of the PRS stuff. That's my patch too. Okay, we'll get back to this in a minute. So, all right. So are PRS guitar soloists? No. I think the thing is, here's my theory about them. Now, as Lila pointed out, I've got a nice old Les Paul. I am honored to be the gatekeeper of that guitar for a while, you know, and it will be moved on to somebody else at some point in my life. I got it from Robin. That guitar kind of kicks everything I own's butt from one end of the room to the other. That's why I sold a ton of things to get that guitar at the time, which it was Robin made it reasonable to do. So I did everything I could to get it. That guitar is absolutely spectacular. So that's sort of a bit of the benchmark for certain things. But, you know, am I going to run around with that guitar? So in the line with that and wanting to have some of the playability things that Gibson, you know, the quality that Gibson just doesn't have. I've seen some really nightmarish stuff, you know. Their quality, this guitar is absolutely freaking flawless. It's unbelievable. I was blown away, and I really, you know, blown away by the thing. And it sounds amazing, and it sounds really classic. So that they sound sterile, I think the ones like the DGT and the other one, they sound like those guitars. I don't think Paul was, this is what I had to take a while to come to, is they're not trying to sound like a Les Paul, and they're not trying to sound, he's doing his own thing. So once I got that in my head and started playing them, and then started to have a lot of fun with them. So now, I will say this across the board with any guitar company, anywhere, anytime, anywhere, is that I'm fortunately friends with guys at Watchtower, so I can go and play a bunch and choose the one that I like the most. Because they do sound different. Brings me back to tonewoods. Do they make a difference? Or does wood make a difference to the guitar? Yeah. Some of them are just different sounding or a little better sounding to me, or what I hear is better, a little warmer, a little less high end, or whatever, the kind of stuff like that. So I would always suggest that you try the guitar you're going to buy, or have a situation where you could maybe, if you can, go there and try a few. Usually they have a few of them in stock. And then, you know, they have a return policy and all that. So I've found the PRSs to be super consistent playing wise, and they all sound great, but some are going to sound better than the others. And that's what I found to be true. So I do have a good situation. I am a PRS endorser. They have sent me some guitars, but I ended up talking to them and trading some and moving some around to get specific ones that I wanted to. And I've actually, you know, paid for them. I'm not, you know, I don't get the stuff for free, you know. But I just found for my gigs, they really worked. So once I came to the conclusion, once again, like I said, that they are their own thing. And then if you enjoy what they do, that really, they're a ton of fun. So there's that. So for me, I find myself playing my Tuttles and the PRSs all the time. Love my Gibsons, but I just find these match the way I write music better. How's that? Okay. The DGT in particular, because it feels very Strat-like when I'm playing it. Okay. So that's my PRS love. Okay. This is the one that makes me totally nuts. And I think it's an epidemic in the world right now of anti-intellectualism that makes me freaking crazy. B.B. King, Jimi Hendrix, etc. couldn't read music They just played by ear. And therefore, knowing things like music theory make you play soullessly. They played straight from the heart. They didn't know scales. It's the biggest bunch of bull I've ever heard. It's insulting to B.B. King and Jimi Hendrix or anybody who is not an educated musician. If you hear a video, there's a video that from the 80s of B.B. interviewed, or it might have been the 90s, and he knows what he's doing. He was talking about, well, I could play some diminished stuff there. He just didn't do that on his gig because he knew that that's not what people wanted to hear. Hendrix didn't know what he was doing. Really? And so, like, can't read music. Okay, so maybe you can't read sheet music. But Hendrix knew how to read chords. He wasn't, like, completely illiterate. People say, like, George Benson doesn't know what he's doing. Alan Halsworth would always say, oh, I have no idea what I'm doing. Oh, come on. Like, he couldn't express it in a way that was, if you watch his guitar instructional video, but he's talking about real things. So he knows what they are. He might not have the proper name for them, but it's like anything. It makes me mental. Like Lyle's here. Yeah, I just fix amps by feel. I don't need to know anything about it. I just go by feel. And one guy, I finally blocked him. Anytime I would post, he would say, the problem with you and guys like you and Robin Ford and Larry Carlton and Joe Bonamassa is you guys, play with your minds. You don't play with your heart. BB didn't know what he was doing. He just played. And I was like, well, thanks for putting me in such good company. You know what I mean? Like, thanks for doing that. But there's good players, there's bad players. I've been told by people, oh, you don't play like you went to music school. What? Like, what does that mean? So it just comes down to people can play well and people don't play well, right? But this idea that there's some sort of thing, right, yes, they said it about Wes Montgomery as well. You do not play like that and not know what you're doing. You may not have the 100% full understanding of where it comes from theoretically in the scales, blah, 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 but boy, man, that makes me crazy, and I find it to be really, really insulting to the people who they think didn't know what they were doing. It's crazy. And it's not that hard to know what you're doing. It's very hard to apply it, Like I said, I'm learning Italian, and it's brutal. I feel like I'm making no progress whatsoever. But I can do it. It's just going to take some time. It's the same thing with, like, learning theory, It's just going to take some time. But that explaining that Eric Clapton didn't know what he was doing using names like that, and after he spent all that time practicing, how did he get that good? He worked his butt off. He knew exactly what he was doing. So yeah, the anti-intellectual thing, I think, is freaking epidemic now. It's just, nuts. Anyway, that's a whole other topic. But the more you know, the better you get. Now, theory is descriptive, not prescriptive. Thank you. Right. So yeah, you're just putting a name to things. So for me, the theory stuff really worked when it introduced new sounds. And I'm like, oh, wow, I hadn't heard that. Oh, that's an altered scale? Oh, damn, that's what that thing is. All right, now let me go work on it. It wasn't like I was just, the stars came over me, shined upon me, and then suddenly I heard these things and could play them because I just have this natural ability. And I don't mean to be, I know I'm a good guitar player, sure, but I don't think I think I worked really hard. I know I worked really hard. And anybody who's a mofo on the guitar practiced their butts off. I've hung around Robin. That guy, he's like, I don't really practice that much, but he plays all the time, and all those hours logged in. So that one makes me absolutely crazy. It makes me crazy. In anything, like, oh, you're my accountant. Just feel it by just feel your way through that. Yeah, it should be fine. The electrician in my house. Yeah, you don't need to know what you're doing. Obviously, nobody's going to get hurt, or you're not going to have the IRS coming after you or something like that. But, So what came first, the theory of the sounds? It kind of went a bit together. I think they kind of went sort of hand in hand, honestly. That's a funny question. I never actually thought about that. Okay, so that's my rant on that. Most music stinks. I'm kind of with you on that. I'm kind of with that one. There is nothing worse to me if I put on Sirius radio and there's the Bluesville I would say about 95% of the stuff I hear in that I cannot stand. Same with like a lot of rock bands. And I don't want to sound like old folkyism, which I love that expression, but especially something like the blues, like you just hear, it can be such a hackneyed style of music that people, if you know 3 chords and you know a pentatonic scale, and you can call yourself, like Guitar Crusher. I think there was a guy named Guitar Crusher, but you know what I mean? Those kind of names, and then you're just playing another shuffle and playing a bunch of licks, like tired blues licks. It's a very difficult genre of music, and I've talked to, I think Matt Schofield has talked about it with me on the air, who I think is the finest young, new, modern blues guitar player. Young, what's that anymore? But I think for me, like he's spectacular because he's got his kind of own take on it and taking the music a little bit further. So, yeah, most blues is just terrible. It's become a bit of a museum piece. And there's like the arbiter of what is good blues and bad blues, like all these blues societies, it's laughable. So sometimes those things are really, really hard to listen to. All right. I think I have a few more. Somebody put on Instagram, noiseless pickups are as dead as Elvis. Now, I've gone back and forth. I have noiseless pickups in my Tuttle right now. And it is by... I think they're the best they've ever been. I prefer the single coils, but I have to work. And I'm sitting here in front of a computer, and the only way I don't get noise is if I turn to this angle pointing sort of that way. Everything is set up this way because there's no other way, or else I'd be having windows and it would ruin all my filming. So I have to do that. And I went, I played that Jeff Beck tribute a few weeks ago, and some guys had single coils, and it's a noisy room that night. So what I end up losing a little bit in pure tone, which I really do love and prefer, I do get back in comfort. And so I've got the guitars with the noise-free pickups. I use the DiMarzio ones. I think they're great. And I have guitars with either vintage with the regular pickups or like Ron Ellis pickups, which I've been using. So now that brings me to my last one I had on the list is expensive pickups are better than less expensive pickups, or that kind of thing. Okay. Do you need to buy $800 set of pickups? Ron Ellis pickups I think sound spectacular. I really love them. I really love throwback pickups. I've tried lesser prices. I work with them. So that's, it makes it a little more reasonable for me to do that. Seymour Duncan or DiMarzio pickups sound great. So that's that kind of catching up with the Joneses thing. If you have the money to experiment with things like that and you've got a super high-end guitar, then great. I find there is a difference, but it's a small percentage. And that only that percentage really comes out when you're playing through really good gear. It's like when I got my first really great amp, which would probably have been a deluxe reverb. I was like, oh. But no, I had Marshalls, but I was playing like at 800 or something, and that's great, but it was way more distorted than I would play now. So when I got something like a deluxe reverb, I was like, oh. Or started playing like a JTM 45, and then when I got the Plexi, I was like, oh man, this is way different, So you would start to hear the sound of the guitars. So then you could start to hear the subtleties and pickup changes that you would make. And then when I got the Two Rocks, I really started feeling it. So any kind of really good amp, I do hear, that's when you start to hear and feel the differences of different pickup brands and the expensive ones. The cheap ones are just cheap. Like, the ones that are in like a Squier, they're just not good pickups. They're just not. I mean, they're really not really well made, and they're for beginner guitars. They're fine, but usually anybody I know who's got a Squier or wants, people upgrade them. You throw in a good set of DiMarzios, and they sound great. So, that for me is something that people ask about all the time too. Yeah, pickups are the first thing to go in a budget guitar. Absolutely. I can't stand noisy guitars at a gig. I have noiseless P90s and DiMarzios and a couple of guitars. Yeah, man, it's just it's just practical. Because some gigs I like playing ballads, And there's nothing worse than being on a ballad. You're playing it in here like, some nights, if there's a fluorescent light with a dimmer switch, or if there's something with a dimmer switch, it's just a nightmare. So I just gave up on it. So what I miss in pure Strat tone, I don't miss on a gig at all, or filming. Okay, so let's see, got some comments. I like Joe Satriani's taste in DiMarzio pups. Yeah, and DiMarzio makes great stuff. Sometimes they get a bad rap. I'm friends with Steve Blucher, who's like the innovator of tons of these pickups. He's a vintage guy. He's brilliant. So, they're kind of known for the super distortion and things like that. DiMarzio makes great pickups. There's so many different ones. And people say, like, I don't like the sound of DiMarzio's. Like, have you tried all of them? There's a ton of them. One of my original Tuttle had they called it Blue Velvets or True Velvets that they made, and they sounded great. Awesome pickups. Seymour Duncan, SD59, fight me. Yeah, great pickups. That's what I'm saying. So, like, that's when you start getting down that road of, I do find a difference, but it's the comparison is the thing once again. All right. However, you can't find good new music, you're not looking very hard. Kingfish, Larkin Post, Methodfish, I don't really like any of that stuff, to be kind of honest. I said it. It doesn't appeal to me. It's I want to hear something different and new. There's fine playing, fine performance of it and everything like that. It's just, I don't know. I just want to hear something that's grabbing me and something that I haven't heard before. Guitar technique is a dime a dozen at this point, and I think Kingfish is a ridiculously good guitar player. But when it comes to the music, I'm just more drawn into somebody doing something a little different. So I think they are great. They are excellent sound of me, but it doesn't hold my interest as much as some other stuff. And that's what it is. When I hear a B.B. King thing come on, it just destroys everything else. And it's not because it's like old. It just sounds better. There's more going on. Andy Timmons uses DiMarzio. Yep. Has for a long, long time. Right. I like some noisy pickups. Others nasty. Category is too broad. Absolutely. That's the way I feel about it too. Yeah. So, Gary Simmons, about the songs. It's the songs. It's the performance. It's what's being played through. So, like I said, if you like those stuff, it's fine. I didn't mean that. It was kind of mean. I don't, when it comes on, I just find myself turning it off. Hey, BB, practice, right, with Italian. Absolutely. That's what it is. Okay. All right. Okay, what do you got? What are your top 3 new bands or artists that you listen to or enjoy? Boy, I've been looking. I do, like, if we're talking music, guitars, I really like Julian Lage, as he knew. I don't, kinda. There's, I don't know. It's a good question. Recommend some. I would love to hear it. I don't have Spotify. I have Apple Music, and Spotify is those kind of like those playlists that I think are kind of where Apple Music falls short. And when I put on like the roots rock stuff, there's some things come along that I really that get me, that I really like. But for the most part, a lot of it, when you've been around a long time, I don't know, I sound old, but things, you start to hear the roots of things. And sometimes you're like, oh, it sounds kind of like, you hear the Zeppelin thing going on there, or you hear the blah, 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 Okay. I've actually put a reverse wound pickup in the neck and another Strat in the blend mod to not try to get the majority of the bridge noise. Yeah, it's cool. I'm so nerdy that I like the sound of a non-reverse wound pickup in the middle of a Strat. I think those out of phase sounds warmer. You don't get rid of the noise, but they sound warmer. I actually haven't heard any Cardinal Black's tunes. I think Chris is a great player. I haven't heard the band. Mark Lettieri. Mark's ridiculous. Super nice guy, too. Really good dude. Great sense of humor. I'm sure you picked up on that. All right, I'm going back to my stuff here. Death Magneto. I'm from Ireland, home of Rory Gallagher and Gary Moore. I laugh because every Irish person I know is like, Rory Gallagher. I've been corrected. Rory Gallagher. Thank you. I loved Gary Moore. It's too bad. Yeah, Marcus King. Yeah. Okay. I'll go with you on that one. I'm with Lyle. This is really what it comes down to. I don't care about the guitar playing on a boring song, and that's the truth. Why do I come back to my favorite records of all time? It's not. Fortunately, my favorite guitar solos are my favorite songs, but why am I always drawn to Pink Floyd things? Is it nostalgia? No, they're just really good. The songwriting, and you got this great guitar solo in a great song. So that's for me, absolutely. Yeah. You think the bar is high in Ireland? I'm in Memphis. You think the bar is high in Memphis? I'm in New York City. Greatest city in the world. Fight me on it. Joey Landreth is phenomenal. He absolutely is. Sonny Landreth is phenomenal. There's so many. I just started work through Corey's arpeggio course. Any tips? I don't know. Ask Corey. Go through my arpeggio course. It's much better. It's free, too. Corey's a good friend of mine. I don't know. Practice slow. I don't know his course. I don't watch his courses. We talk all the time. We're quite good friends. It's more, we don't watch anything either kind of does because we just don't want to be influenced. But we talk a few times a week. Corey's a great dude and a great player. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know his course, though. Like anything, practice it slowly. But ask him. All right, let's take a listen to this thing. So this is my... let's do this. Hold on. Let's check out. All right, here's what I've done. I love the JTM 45 amplifier and the Fractal. It's really great, and I love JTM 45, so I just started using that. As I play stock blues licks. Like Jan Ray on top. I'm gonna go the my Strat. A little hotter humbucker thing. Super hot. So I got settings for humbuckers and Strats. This is free. People wanted it. Just for the Fractal stuff. I don't really work with any other, like the Line 6 stuff. I like the Fractal stuff. So there you go. That's the settings that I use in all the videos. Nobody really digs. But I'm totally digging this guitar. I got to say, this thing is great. So it is not for the faint of heart. But, if you want a top-notch, top-of-the-line PRS, go over to Watchtower Guitars. And we're going down there next week. I'm going down with them again to choose some more wood and choose some more tops. We're doing the run together, so it'll be fun. So what I've done in the Fractal world and this preset stuff is I just kind of put the basic stuff that I use all the time on gigs. 2 different overdrives if I can. So there's my Klon sort of take. Actually, let's go to the... Hold on. Let's go to the standard. So the basic, Jan Ray, or my Klon. More mids, right? Univibe. Of course, reverb. Octavia. That's pretty good to me. So yeah, if you're a fractal guy, go get them. Oh, I didn't know my transition. That's what I meant to do. Here we go. So yeah, this is kind of what it looked like there. I sit on my But yeah, if you want that, you can grab it for free. What else we got over here in the questions? Sounds great out here. They're great. I mean, this is the thing. Oh, Sean, you didn't offend me. I'm just kidding, man. I love having Corey and I bust on each other all the time. He is a great guitar player. He just keeps on getting better and better. One of my good friends. No, you didn't offend me. Just having fun. That's what I'm playing. Okay, I have a question for you, maybe off topic, but I'm curious. I'd appreciate if you could. Have you ever experienced stress while trying to learn the guitar? Oh, God, yeah. All the time. For sure, man. There's so many. What kind of stress do you mean? Well, there's the comparison, which is the same thing we talked about with gear. The comparison thing is just brutal. You know, if you think you're not moving fast enough. I had this discussion with my Italian teacher. She's like, what's wrong? Why are you getting so angry? I'm like, I can't remember this. She's like, so what do just being a beginner at something, I don't know where you're at, but sucking at something as an adult is really hard. And I think of myself as a pretty intelligent dude, and within reason. And it's a real struggle. I know it's practice and practice and practice, but it does take a while before things click. So, I feel like I'm getting something. I listen to a conversation. I'm like, no, didn't catch, thought like 3 words of that, which is better than the week before where I might have caught 1 or 2. So, so I just try to go in, if I'm going to practice, I'll go into practicing with a plan. I think that's really helpful. I've talked to that a lot, is, have an idea of what you want to play or what you want to do in your practice session. I would also say one thing that builds a ton of confidence is, this is the kind of stress you're talking about. I'm going to take a look further down. Write out a list of songs that you want to learn. Yeah. And make them simple tunes. Whoever it is that you love, just find some simple tunes that you love. And learn them from top to bottom. Like really memorize them, because then you're really building up a lot of confidence that you might not have. And you don't have a judgment so much on yourself. Like if you're getting up to play with a band or trying to work on something or soloing, my soloing stinks, because that's you. When you're learning somebody else's tunes, excuse me, that's somebody else's stuff. So there's not as much of like a personal, that way is for me, as personal attachment to it. So I would definitely say learn some tunes and just try to go easy on yourself, man. It's just, it's hard. It's really hard sometimes. But remember, you're supposed to be doing it for fun. Right? I mean, this is supposed to be for enjoyment. So you really have to assess why you're doing it and then try not to be so hard on yourself. I know it's very difficult. That's the best advice, and I try to go through that, do that with myself as well. Sometimes I start beating myself up, whether it's learning Italian or playing guitar or something like that. I should be better. I should be better. I hear Mark Leteri and go, I should be better, And then, what does that mean? What's better? So, I know, hopefully was that helpful? I hope. Okay, here we go. So this is a 594, right, that we did. So let me just go through the specs of this thing. It is obviously the flamey maple. I think, I don't know where that came from. We wanted to make it like, a Les Paul, as close as we get. So it is mahogany, and it's a mahogany neck. And we put on a lightweight kind of vintage tuners, just like an old Les Paul. And we kind of wanted to get that sort of dialed in, but sounds great and plays like a dream, and it's super resonant. It's really a great guitar. And what I like, back to the PRS thing, is they have guitar for every price range. Like I don't have an SE. I have played the SEs. They are amazing and they are great. This is somebody asked the specs. It's a pattern vintage neck, which I like. So it's kind of got a good feel to it. It's got a nitro satin finish, so it feels pretty unfinished, which I really love. So you've got the few levels. We've got the core. I've got a core DGT. And then there's the wood library, which I happen to have one of those as well, because I found a great one at Watchtower, and it's amazing. You guys have seen that one. And then, so the wood library is a step above the core. And then there's the private stock, which is significantly more expensive, and not for every wallet, but, it's pretty, I can't argue with how good this guitar is. Yeah, it's just really, it surprised me how good it is. I'm really into it. So, all right. Let me go up a second. Didn't you have a backplate on one of your guitars? I do. I have a backplate, the Illich backplate on, actually it was the Sir one at the time. It's on one of my Tuttles. I think that sounds good. Supposedly a newer one that's supposed to sound a little bit better. I think it sounds good. I got to mess with it. Sometimes it feels a little not lively, and so maybe I installed it, so I'm probably more than anything user error. What about Lawler pickups versus Lindy Fralin? What's the main difference between these two pickups for a fat round tone? Telly, are you asking me? Sure. They're both great. Both Lindy Fralin and Lawler pickups are great. I've had both. And guitars I've ended up selling or changing pickups because, I work with some companies and things like that. They're both great. So I think either one you would be totally set with. Hold on, you can't find the specs on that one. Let me hold on. I'll call up that link in a second for you on the guitar. Or do you dare? Okay, Lyle is saying that they're both great. It's like picking out someone's favorite ice cream. Yeah, they're all good. Silver lighting in the cloud of tinnitus is that everything sounds good compared to the ringing. As a fellow sufferer, I understand. All right. Do I remember the specs? Okay, let me run through the specs from top to bottom of this thing. I think I kind of just did, but that's the pattern vintage neck. The frets, I think, are 6150s, or they're tall, regular ones that they put on their guitars. We spec'd them out for weight, which is really, really important. Like I said, it's nice and light and super balanced. These are the 5815 LT pickups, so they're the PRS stuff. I think we spec'd 50s wiring. I haven't opened up to make sure, but I haven't noticed anything that I would really want to change. And the radius, it is 10, I believe, the standard PRS, but it's the Les Paul length, the 594 length. It's not the regular 25 that you have on a DGT or some of the other ones. Yeah. I know that for sure. This is the same. This is the old Gibson length. That's the 594. So it feels like I'm playing a Gibson, but I hate the necks on PRS guitars. I had a SC model. Love the series. You got to try a bunch of them. There's different ones. There's the pattern vintage, the pattern regular, there's the pattern thin. There's a bunch of necks. This one feels great. Feels really awesome. I love the neck on the DGT. That's probably my favorite. What's the nut width? That I don't remember. It's the same as a Gibson, though. I don't remember. It's a Gibson. Whatever that Gibson nut length width is. Regular old 50s Les Paul width. Okay. Oh, you got a DGT semi-hollow, and it's my fault. Oh, cool. I love mine. Hey, see you, Lyle. Lyle's got a split, so thanks, man. Thanks for always adding in. Amanda Coombs, hey, what's going on? Thanks for joining. All right. So any other questions, everybody? Those are my hot takes. You can go back and listen. Oh, my final one. Pentatonic scales are boring. Well, then you don't know how to use them. That's always my thing. Lots of great players who play pentatonic scales. So that'll be my last hot take. All right. Any other questions, guys, or things you want to jump in? It's good to see you as well, Amanda. Jeff loves Strats with 7 1/4. Said say PRS has an LP radius. Yeah, this is right. This is the 10-inch. This is the PRS pattern vintage with the 10-inch radius, which I like on Les Pauls. I want Les Pauls to be well, I like Les Pauls to be like Les Pauls. Those are 12. Just feels a little different. Like people are like, is this doesn't sound exactly like Les Paul? Well, it's not. It sounds amazing though. Sounds very much in that ballpark. So, okay. Tiny little hand. I need to know if I can get some over the top of that. I don't have really big hands either. So I don't find it to be unnecessarily, it's not wide. It's, hold on. It feels a little bit like my Les Paul, sort of. You have to double check on that. I'm not sure, because that's definitely subjective. The DGT is a little narrower, I know that. That's one thing I love about it. My knees hurt. Have a fun week. You guys have a good week too, to use Meltdown. Thoughts on Yngwie? I love Yngwie. I got my Yngwie Strat over there in the corner. I grew up being an Yngwie fanatic. Favorite Yngwie song? Far Beyond the Sun. Without a question. That's the one. I love You Now Your Ships Are Burned. I haven't listened to them in a while, like the new stuff. I love the older stuff. I was listening to Trilogy the other day. Man, the solo on is it Queen in Love? I'm trying to forget. That record he's playing is so ridiculous. Black Star 2. It's tough to say. Yeah, I would say Black Star's up there too. Yeah, it's a tough one. Pretty much everything on the first record. How's that? So that's the one for me. And then I was on a kick a few weeks ago with a friend of mine, sending them back and forth sorry, I get distracted by the chat, of finding old Yngwie concerts from the late 80s and early 90s. And oh my gosh, good Lord, that guy could play. I mean, he still can play, but I love the old stuff. Super amazing. But yeah, I love Yngwie. In terms of getting his tone, his early tone is just so sick. So it's just a cranked Strat, a cranked Marshall with that DOD line driver. So yeah. So I have the Yngwie Strat, which does kind of get you in that thing. The scallops are fun. I got it used in New York on Craigslist for a really good price. I got it for like $1,000, and it's a nice guitar. I really like it. I have fun playing it. When I was younger, I tried to play some of the stuff I thought I kind of could, but I never really could. I could play it better now than I used to, but I do find when I really start working on stuff again, that's when sometimes my hands start to hurt. So I have to lay off doing that. You know what I mean? Sometimes, yeah, just is what it is. So, and plus I don't want to sound like that anyway. He's so good, I can never catch up to that kind of thing. Odyssey record's great too. Joe Lynn Turner on it. Freaking awesome. Any other? 7-3 down under. No get hairs. We say 3-7. Oh, date. What's your go-to gigging amp? Amp one and an alternative. My main go-to gigging amp is the Two Rock Studio Signature, and I have it in a combo. And it's the greatest gigging amp I've had in New York. It's small, relatively light, for tube amp. and it just sounds great. Takes pedals amazingly well. I don't use the overdrive in it. It's more of a clean platform. And the reason why I do that is then I feel like I'm more in control of the volume of everything. And I like to use delay and things. So I have this from T-Rock, which is their effects loop, the 2-buffer effects loop, which sounds amazing in that. But then you're starting to run like a 4-cable method. Sometimes I just like to plug in and play. So very often on my gig, I have a lot of delay and reverb and things like that. So I need to have that post overdrive. So I usually just get everything from my pedals. In a perfect world, I would use the amp distortion, you know. My second favorite, this is all like super snooty and snobby, is the T-Rock Boomfield drive, which is actually my favorite amp from T-Rock. But I'm lazy, so sometimes it's a heavier amplifier. So I go for the lighter one. And as a friend of mine, when I was thinking about bringing that the other week to a gig, and he's like, "Dude, nobody cares what amp you're playing. Just bring the one that's easier for you to bring. It's still a T-Rock, still gonna sound great." Sure. Now this thing sounds awesome. I really love the sound of this little JTM 45 thing, or the Studio JTM. I haven't gigged with it. I'm a little nervous to gig with it because it's 20 watts depending on the gig. And my gig, I just, like I said, I like to have the headroom available to me on a gig. No Tonex. Nope. I know you're joking. Last question. Is Jeff Beck's style really impossible to copy? What do you think? I mean, there's people who can copy him, sure, but they're not him. They didn't come up with it. So the thing I love about Jeff Beck, and I talked about this in one of my videos recently, is that he was always playing the unexpected. He was so original, and the voice is so amazing, you know, that it was always inspirational when you hear him play. So there's people who can sound like him, but they're not him. So I don't even try to sound like him. I'm influenced by him, but it's a trap. You know, it's like, I think I use the expression of Jupiter. Like it's the gravity of it sucks you in. It's so amazing, but you get near it, you got to be sucked in and destroyed. You got to be a clone of somebody else, which I don't want to do. Do you run the amps into the aux for these streams videos? Sometimes. Right now I'm using my Fractal that I was talking about earlier. This is my presets that I'm to get. There we go. Evie on it. That's what I'm using right now. Sometimes I use the aux. Oftentimes I do like using the aux, and I think it can sound really, really great. But the Fractal is just so much easier to use in these situations. Also, you know, if I want to get some really great distortion, say out of my old Marshall, I got to crank it. So I'm really working the tubes and really working the amp. And honestly, and talk about Matt Schofield in the same way, it was people like, oh, tube amps and Fractal versus tube amps. The second you put it through something like an aux, right, you've entered the digital world. So it's just digital at that point. So to me, I don't really feel a big difference sonically all the time between, they sound different and they might feel a little different at times, but the FM9 or the Fractal stuff versus the aux, like a great amp through the aux, I can get very similar, or I can get just as good tones through the Fractal. They might be a little different, but there's nothing I don't miss. I don't go, oh man, this thing with the aux sounds so much better, you know? Okay. Michael Caswell of Lick Library could do a Jeff Beck thing, Mo. Sure. I mean, there's guys who can copy him, but I've kind of come to the conclusion, for me, I don't try to copy people as much anymore as I used to, just because, why? But you can hear them in my playing, for sure. Absolutely. It's just me, but I love Beck's more hard rock Les Paul era in the late 60s and 70s more than the 2000s era of the Strat. I love both. I love the Jeff Beck group, and I love all the stuff from Wired and all that, where he's playing the Les Paul. I love that stuff too. But I love his later stuff too. I love everything that he kind of did, frankly. The audio went squirrely when you switched to the Fractal. I didn't switch anything. It was just the Fractal. The whole time it's been the Fractal. Maybe some sort of... everything's been the Fractal. Could be connection, bandwidth or something like that got a little weird. I saw a question. Oh, I don't get the hate that Yngwie gets. Generally makes me think that a lot of people don't have developed ears. They say he has no soul when he's playing. Shake my head. He's, man, that his soloing, his tone and his vibrato, especially in the early days. This is a freaking rock star, the whole package. Cool tunes, amazing tone, amazing vibrato, amazing time, amazing feel. Yeah. Something changed or still now? All right, well, I don't know. It could be a bandwidth thing. All right, so, but I'm saying I'm just using the fractal. I'll mute my mic. Mic went mono to right speaker. I don't know what's going on. I didn't touch anything. Who knows? Yeah, I see it there too. What's going on? That's so weird. I can see that everything went mono, right? The guitar stereo. But the amp, who knows what's going on? All right, well, let me see if I can sort that out. That's so weird. Didn't change anything. Yeah, I can see it on my meter that it's coming out mono on that side. Anyway, only when showing the fractal. Is it mono now? Is it? Anyway, who knows? All right. It happened when I switched the guitars a while back. That's weird. All right, I don't know what's going on. Ghost in the machine. Okay. I can't sort it now. I'll probably end up turning everything off and then shutting down the stream or something like that, which I don't want to do. All right, it's running late. BB's been cool all along here. So, all right. Can you zoom to yourself without the fractal settings on the screen? Oh, yeah. Oh, maybe that's it. Oh, right? It's better now, right? Yeah, I can see it. I see what happened. User error. Always user error. I see exactly what I did. It's the input. I use OBS, which is a broadcast software, and I must have I did something. It's my fault. Thanks for letting me know. Awesome. So I'll switch to the Strat for a sec so we can hear the Strat presets. And then I'll let BB go home or go to bed, unless he wants to go to bed anyway. All right. Change of weather. Hold on. I just played this one, so there we go. See, that's what I could do without. That's kind of the basic Strat. Now, as I put a little note with these, you always want to, if you get the presets, you always want to tweak the overdrive to your liking. You know, I change it all the time. I change like the bright cap. I turn that on and off. I might put the fat switch on. It changes from guitar to guitar depending on the pickup output of the guitar. So you just find one that works for you. This is kind of where I like the Strat to be. Just a little lower output. Yeah. Thanks to BV, I finally moved my mic over here, which I'm hitting my hat on right now. But I was talking, and it was one of those ridiculous things. On some of my videos, I'm talking, and the mic was over here, and you couldn't tell, so I moved the mic over here, so when I play, you can still hear me talk. So, okay. This is a great guitar. These are the Ron Ellis pickups. All right. See you, BV. I'll just get off in a minute, but thanks so much, man. You're the best. I really appreciate it. And I can throw on the effects. Delay. Alright, so the total thing right there. Then the hot strat setting. Hot strat wet. A little more wet, and then full strat shred. Right, so those are the presets for my fractal stuff. Is this a custom shop? No, a friend of mine made this for me. I cannot divulge who that is because, you know, but he made it for me. And it's just such a great sounding guitar, as you can hear. I love this thing. So yeah, that's the fractal. So you can't say that doesn't sound freaking great. And their presets, the one thing I love about the fractal stuff is their presets are amazing. And so a lot of times what I did was I found a preset that I really liked, and I just started to analyze it. I'm like, oh, I see what's going on. It can get super deep, like super, super deep, like how much editing you can do. But it works great. I really love it. So I'll just switch to another PRS for a minute. So is this one. This sounds different too. Humbuckers? Yep. Oh, I see what's going on. There we go. Yeah. This thing's amazing. But, yep. My friends at Watchtower Guitars, you can check them out. And tell them Jeff sent you. This one here. Got them at 4 a.m., downloaded them, and gave them a play before going to work. They sound awesome. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, my pleasure. A friend of mine was like, why are you charging for them? I'm like, because, first of all, the fractal market's pretty small. I'm big on the goodwill, you know what I mean? It's not that hard. I just kind of cleaned them up and just put them out there, you know? So I'm glad you like them. Tell them Large Marge sent you. Corey, Julie, and I were talking about, texting about how that movie really still holds up. Little too smooth. What the hell out of here? If I picked up my Les Paul and turned off the screen and went back and forth between them, nobody would have any freaking idea. If I plugged in the aux and started playing that, people are like, did you use a different patch? What guitar is that? So I hope you're joking, Scott. Large Marge. A little too smooth. Your phrasing, honestly, is so inspiring, man. I'm a beginner here. Any thoughts on how to get better, even just about going about learning? Seems like there's a path to follow for beginners. It gets overwhelming. It does get overwhelming. Just get a good teacher. Get a good teacher. That's really it. If you're teaching yourself, the internet, guys like me doing lessons, and my good friend Corey and Jason Locke and all these guys, it's completely overwhelming, and then you suddenly feel like you've got all this stuff to learn. You don't know where to start. There's too much information. It's not good. So get a good teacher, whether it's online or in person. Highly recommend that you do that, because then somebody will sort through all this stuff, because there's too much information out there, and that's for sure. So that's the best advice I would say to you is to, or if you're, I would get a teacher. I don't know if there's anyone in your area, but I would look for one. That's definitely it. Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Yes, it is a Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Hoping for a PRS Vela for my 50th. Well, good luck with that. It gets a really good in-between thing, too. Good guitar. I've been stagnant for 18 years. Never have enough time to get better. I think I've cracked the key, and it's learn chords. Everything is based around chords. Yeah, and learn songs, chords and songs. Soloing is great, but definitely do the chords. Don't skip on what seems like it's too easy. Best guitar collection. You are great. I am very fortunate. Thank you very much. I'm very fortunate with the guitar collection. It is what I do for a living, right? And I have relationships with the companies, so that really helps. I don't play anything I don't like. You guys know that. I don't talk about. I've been approached by companies to do videos or send me gear, and I just say no. It's a great position to be in. I understand that, but I just don't want to. I feel very strongly about that. I just play the stuff I like. And if you go to a gig, you will see me playing the exact same stuff that I have on here. Nothing's ever any different. Can you play some solo blues in B flat? Sure. A slower tempo at the moment, but yeah, B flat, yeah. I'm the opposite. Finding you and Corey is what focused me in and what I was missing in my blues playing. Cut out the one-trick nonsense. Oh, I appreciate that. Corey and I really take this teaching seriously. It's really important to us because we I think that's what, I'll say something, hubris. Something that makes me feel good about what we do is I do take this, as much as I think of myself as a player, I'm a teacher as well. There's so much bad teaching. People get on the internet, they think they can teach, and they're just, check this out, because there's no barrier, right? It's just an open platform. So I can't recommend Corey enough. My friend Jason Laughlin, just some of my guitar teacher friends are just really great. So thanks. Yeah, I try to make it digestible because you can do it. It's just a matter of practice, What do you hear my guitar through? The studio monitors, Adam Audio A7 somethings. They're pretty nice. I finally splurged on some good studio monitors after years of not having good ones. One broke, and I was just like, all right, just do it. So I bought a decent set of the Adam Audio 7s. They sound really nice. One can hear the chords while you're soloing, man. That's awesome. Well, I hope so. Yeah, that's part of the whole thing. I missed some of them. I chose a pretty fast tempo for me at the very moment that I was not warmed up for. Is that Freedom Rock? No, that's jazz, man. Jazz blues. As Scott Henderson said, blues is jazz, man. Gotta play those changes. All right, everybody. Who are your teachers these days? Everybody. I saw a video of Larry Golding's, ridiculous keyboard piano player. And he was just playing some stuff, and I was like so inspired because it was such a cool sound, but it was not a guitar thing. So I just got home. I forgot what it was at this point. It was kind of late, but I was like, I'm going to work whatever he played that out. Work out whatever he just played because it was so cool. It was so non-guitarist, or it was, but it was by a piano player. You know what I'm getting at. So piano players, I've been taking some lessons. I took a lesson from Scott Henderson a number of months ago. Usually I just go to gigs and hear people play. And then I'm fortunate enough at this point where I maybe have an idea of what they're doing, and I go home and try to work on that. It's more about inspiration for me. Okay. All right. So thanks so much, everybody, for being here. I got a dog I got to go walk. Bo. And does the camera look better now? I upgraded everything. Does the video look clearer? If you could let me know, that would be awesome to let me know just before I go. Wow, so a lot of people on. Okay, anyway. I will see you guys probably in 2 weeks, or is that, I'll let you know. I'm going down to PRS again, which should be fun. We're going to choose out some more tops for some guitars, some Wood Library ones this time, so it's a different price point. Once again, if you're interested in one of these, go over to Watchtower Guitars and tell them I sent you. And yeah, very clear. Video quality is awesome. One last thing before I jump. Well, I bought a new camera. Well worth it. Used. I've discovered that, like used guitars, used cameras are the way to go. So, huge difference. I was stunned. So the video quality of my courses is much better now too, which I'm really psyched about. And I bought a much better lens, and I bought a used lens, so about half the price of it new. And also I use OBS, and what I did, here's the main thing, was I entered all my gear that I'm using, and I put it into ChatGPT and asked for the optimal setting to do YouTube live streams. And it gave me a bunch of settings I didn't quite have right. And I would be searching through YouTube to try to find them. I just copied exactly what it said, and blammo. So that's great. So that ChatGPT, those are things that are really, really helpful for. I mean, I couldn't believe it. It's like, check, do this. Oh, great setup you got there. Do this, and this. And here we go. Looks so much better. The camera is a Lumix GH5 II, and the lens is it's a Lumix 7. What lens did I buy? It's on the camera. It's got a teleprompter in front of it too. Let me see if I can read that. Hi, everyone. Vario. Yeah, it's the Vario. can't read it. 1/2/8, something like that. It's the Vario though. New, it's about an $800 lens. You can see my nose here. New, it's about $800. I got it at Adorama here in New York City online, and it's a little beaten up on the outside, not on the lens. It's perfectly untouched, and it was like $250. So that, I felt like that was well worth it, and the camera body was about half price. So that was great because it's a little older. It's like a 2 or 3 year old camera. I investigated for what I'm doing. I'm not using it for any still all sorts of nerdy camera stuff. It doesn't overheat. I can have it on for a really long period of time. It doesn't overheat. In continuous recording, so I can record. When I record my courses, a lot of times I just let it run and go. You know what I mean? So I got the body, $1,200. I mean, it's not dirt cheap, but I mean, my other camera I had for years, so it's pretty future-proof for a while. So I got everything basically like half price. So you got to look around. The used camera stuff, I talk to my friends who are in the camera world, they're like, oh yeah, camera bodies are like, they go down, they drop like a car. You take the body off the, you know, if it's a year-old car, still low mileage, it's not going to be worth nearly as much, or at least it used to be that way. So the whole setup was like, like $1,400. And noticeable difference. And I got a little bit more of the Michael Cope is on here, is very helpful to me as well. Thanks. Oh, Matt Gibson's on. So thanks, man. Yeah, I think it looks really good. But like the ChatGPT did, we got a little bit of the little blur in the background. I like it. And then when I get the close-ups for the courses, it's a lot sharper. So I'm really psyched at the quality. And it looks better on the videos actually than it even does on the live stuff, because we're streaming at 1080. And it goes through all the compression, and the courses are 4K. So I really noticed. Well, then when you load them with the Teachable, they crunch it. But I'm very happy with the way this looks for a relatively low price point. ChatGPT. What are the best cameras for me to get? This is what I want. Listed like 3 or 4 cameras. I was familiar with the Panasonic and the Lumix world, so I didn't want to go to a different company like Sony, because I'm used to the color. Like there's things that you start to get into the stuff. So I'm used to the Panasonic cameras and the menus and all that. So I just was going to stick with that. So there you go. How much do I record with amp heads direct? The last record, I do. I switch it all up. I was saying, like, the Fractal can sound amazing. I don't ever mic them though, because I'm not in a situation where I can do that. I live in Brooklyn. I got neighbors on both sides. So I don't want to be that guy cranking up stuff. So everything's direct. So I either use the aux or I use the Fractal. They all sound good, but they all sound a little different. So I did a recording recently, and kind of fun point on the PRS. The producer, when we kind of talked over it online, I showed some PRSs, and he was like, use your Gibsons. I'm like, all right. So the whole recording was PRSs, because they just sat in the mix better and they intonated better. And for that, I used the Friedman, the Jakey Lee, because it was more aggressive stuff. So I could have found something on the Fractal, but I just plugged into the Friedman, gave it a shot, and it was just, I like that I can go like this and turn around and turn the knobs, and it dialed it in right away. So, but how I record them, it's always direct. Whether it's the amp heads, it's always through the aux, or it's a Fractal. Okay. Can Zoran Mondami play guitar? I don't know. I haven't asked him. I haven't met him. All right. Okay, now I'm going to go, because I got to make dinner and walk a dog and stuff like that, and practice my Italian. You guys are all the best. I really, really appreciate it. Hold on. For home recording and attenuation, is there anything better than the aux? For home recording of live amplifiers, no. For attenuation, tons of things are better. I have 2 things. I've got the power station. If you want to play through your amp and play it at a low volume and have it sound good, the aux isn't that. The clicking, it doesn't sound great past a few clicks, like 2. Sounds fizzy and weird. So the reamping situation's much better. But to record direct with the cab simulators, I don't really love going through IRs and trying to find the right one. I can choose my mics on the aux. Took a little while to dial it in, but I really, really like it. Okay, Death Magneto, right? Great live stream, good crowd, chat. Thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate everyone who's been here. Please like and subscribe. You know, if you're not a fan of my channel or you know anything, please check it out. Check out the YouTube freebies link we've got over here where you want to get the track for today, which I ended up not playing over. You get tons of stuff, all the backing tracks, from all the live YouTube videos or the YouTube videos, live stuff. It's all free over there. I have my mastering arpeggios course over at JM Guitar Lessons. That's free. Pick up a course if you like. It's a great way to help out the station, the channel, all that. I said station as a power station. Help out the channel. And all you guys who are usually here every week, I really appreciate that. And I'll see y'all later. Have a great one. Thanks. And for you Americans, enjoy the 4th of July and your day off. And I'll let you know more about England coming up, about the dates. See you guys later.